There's a version of tired that sleep doesn't fix. You lie down, the lights go off, and your body still won't stand down. Your jaw is tight. Your shoulders are somewhere near your ears. Your heart hasn't gotten the memo that the day is over. Nothing happened today. No emergency. No threat. Just an ordinary day. And yet your body is behaving like it survived one. Or maybe it doesn't show up in your body first. Maybe it shows up in a room. You walk in, and before you've said a word to anyone, you've already read it. The tone of a voice, the half-second delay before someone answers a question, the particular way a friend's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes today. Not because you're paranoid, because somewhere, at some point, you learned that a room could turn on you, and you were the one who had to see it coming. Or maybe it lives mostly in your head, a smoke detector mounted too close to the stove, going off every time you cook, unable to tell the difference between smoke and fire, keeping the whole house on edge for something that was never actually burning. 3 different doors into the same room: body, relationships, mind. And if any of them are familiar to you, I want to say something before we go any further. None of this makes you broken, or too much, or bad at relaxing. What you're describing has a name, a mechanism, and, this matters, a way out. It's called hypervigilance, a state of heightened alertness to potential threat that outlasts the situation that created it. And to actually understand it, not just cope with it, understand it, we need to walk through all 3 of those doors, because hypervigilance is never just one thing. It's a body that won't stand down, a mind that won't stop calculating, and a set of relationships that never quite feel safe to fully enter. Let's take them one at a time, starting with the body, because that's where the story usually begins. Your nervous system has 2 basic settings. One is the sympathetic state, alert, activated, ready to move, heart rate up, muscles primed, attention narrowed onto anything that might be dangerous. The other is the parasympathetic state, rest, digest, recover, slow heart rate, loose muscles, wide open awareness. In a well-regulated nervous system, you move between these all day without noticing. Something startles you, you spike, it passes, you settle. That's the system working exactly as designed. But for a lot of people, especially people who grew up around unpredictability, criticism, or emotional volatility from someone they depended on, that switch gets stuck. The body learns, early and without asking permission, that letting the guard down was never actually safe. Not once, not reliably. So it stops treating alertness as the exception and starts treating it as the default, because from the body's point of view, that's what kept you alive. Here's the part that's hard to hear and important to hear. Your nervous system isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do. It's applying a survival strategy built in one chapter of your life to a present that no longer requires it. That's not a defect. That's loyalty from a part of you that never got the memo that the danger passed. Now follow that same story into relationships, because this is where hypervigilance usually gets its training data in the first place. It rarely forms in a vacuum. It forms in connection with other people, usually early, usually close. A caregiver who was warm one day and volatile the next. Affection that arrived unpredictably, sometimes followed by criticism with no warning. Love that had to be monitored for, rather than relied on. In an environment like that, constant scanning isn't irrational. It's an intelligent adaptation. If you can't predict when the ground beneath you will shift, the next best strategy is to watch it constantly for the first sign of a crack. A child who learns to read a parent's mood before that parent even finishes entering the room isn't being dramatic. They're doing exactly what the situation demands of them, using the only tools a child has. The problem is that this strategy, built for one very specific relationship, doesn't know how to stay in the past. It generalizes. It shows up with new friends who have never given you a single reason to doubt them. It shows up with partners who are steady, patient, and kind. A slightly flat text message gets read as evidence of anger. A moment of silence gets filled in with the worst possible explanation. The mind treats every new relationship as a rerun of the old one, quietly gathering evidence for a verdict that was actually decided years ago, in a completely different house, with a completely different person. And this is where the third door opens, the mind itself, and the way it processes all of this. Go back to that smoke detector. It's not broken exactly. It's just calibrated wrong, too sensitive, firing at steam as if it were flame, exhausting everyone in the house, including itself. That's a fair picture of what it's like to live inside a hypervigilant mind, constantly scanning, constantly bracing, reacting to the appearance of danger as if it were the real thing, over and over, all day. Here's the mechanism underneath it, and it's worth sitting with, because it's not irrational. It's actually a very specific, very old cost-benefit calculation. If missing real danger once felt catastrophic, and a false alarm only ever cost you a little embarrassment or a bit of wasted energy, your mind will always choose to over-detect. It would rather be wrong 100 times than right 0 times on the one occasion it actually mattered. That calculation made sense once. The trouble is, it doesn't update itself automatically just because your life has changed. The mind that learned to scan a chaotic home or an unpredictable relationship keeps running that same threat detection software in rooms that are now genuinely calm. It isn't weighing today's evidence. It's still running yesterday's math. So we have a body stuck in alert mode, a relational pattern that reruns old verdicts on new people, and a mind still doing threat math from a different decade. All three point toward the same deeper question, and it's a question closer to philosophy than biology. What does it actually mean to be safe? We tend to think of safety as a fact about the world, a locked door, an empty street, a partner who has never once given you a reason to doubt them. But your body doesn't respond to facts. It responds to felt experience. You can be, by every objective measure, safe, and still not feel it. Which means safety was never purely a fact to be verified. It's a state your body and mind have to learn to trust. And trust, unlike a fact, can't be argued into existence. No one, however honest, however consistent, can offer you airtight proof against every possible future betrayal. At some point, trust requires you to stop demanding certainty and start tolerating the ordinary risk that comes with caring about someone, or resting in a moment, or believing that today really is just an ordinary day. That's not naivety. That is, at some level, what every functioning nervous system, every functioning relationship, and every functioning mind actually runs on. The alternative, permanent vigilance, feels like protection. But look closely at what it actually buys you. It doesn't prevent pain, it just guarantees you never fully arrive in the safety, the relationships, or the calm that are already available to you. You can survive an unsafe childhood, and then spend the next 20 years treating a safe life as though it's still unsafe. And the tragedy of that isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It's just the slow accumulation of good, ordinary days, experienced as though they were threats to be managed, rather than moments to be lived. There's something almost tragic in that, if we're honest. A nervous system so good at protecting you from the past that it struggles to let you exist in the present. A mind so committed to catching the one real fire that it treats every wisp of steam the same way. It's not a failure of intelligence. If anything, it's evidence of how intelligent and adaptive these systems are. They just never got the update. So, let's talk about the update. Because recovery here isn't a single fix. It has to happen on all three levels, the same three doors we walked through. The body, the relationships, and the mind. And none of them respond to force. You cannot out-argue a nervous system with logic. You cannot demand trust into being, and you cannot think your way out of a miscalibrated alarm by simply deciding to think differently. Start with the body, because it's the most immediate. The work there isn't dramatic. It's 1,000 small, almost boring moments of your body being allowed to notice that nothing bad is happening right now. A slow exhale that's longer than the inhale, because a long exhale is one of the only signals your body actually accepts as evidence of safety. Feeling your own weight settle into the ground beneath you. A hand placed flat on your own chest. The felt presence of another calm person nearby, because nervous systems regulate each other, quietly, all the time, whether we notice it or not. None of these are dramatic gestures. That's the point. The body doesn't get talked out of hypervigilance. It gets shown, repeatedly, in small doses, that standing down doesn't lead to disaster. Then, the relational layer, which is slower and harder because it requires other people. It means staying in a calm relationship long enough to actually notice that the crack you were braced for never comes. It means naming the vigilance out loud to someone safe. I'm noticing I feel on edge right now, and I don't think it's about you, instead of quietly acting on it, testing people, or withdrawing before they get the chance to disappoint you. It means practicing the specific uncomfortable skill of letting a small uncertainty sit unresolved without immediately treating it as danger. That one is hard. Uncertainty is exactly the thing hypervigilance was built to eliminate. Learning to tolerate a little bit of it, on purpose, in small and low-stakes situations, is how the pattern eventually loosens its grip. And then the cognitive layer, recalibrating the alarm itself. This starts with something that sounds almost too simple, naming the pattern the moment it fires. This is my alarm going off. It might not be a fire. That small sentence does something important. It puts a sliver of space between the signal and your automatic reaction to it. And that sliver of space is where choice becomes possible again. It continues by deliberately collecting counter-evidence, actually registering, on purpose, the 100 times the alarm turned out to be wrong, instead of only remembering the one time it might have been right. Most hypervigilant minds are excellent record keepers of danger and terrible record keepers of safety. That imbalance can be corrected, but only if you do it on purpose, because it will not correct itself. None of this is fast, and none of it is linear. There will be days the alarm goes off far too easily, over something that doesn't deserve it. That is not proof the work isn't working. It's proof that an old, well-practiced system is still running its last few false positives before it finally learns the new baseline. Setbacks here aren't evidence of failure. They're evidence that change was actually being attempted in the first place. You don't get static from a system that isn't being asked to update. And maybe that's the real reframe underneath all of this. We tend to treat hypervigilance as something to be eliminated, like a bug to be patched out of the system entirely. But the part of you that scans for danger was never the enemy. It was a guard, and it was good at its job, and it kept you safe when safety wasn't guaranteed. The goal was never to fire the guard. The goal is to finally sit down next to it and show it, patiently, with evidence, over time, that the war it's still fighting ended a while ago. Because nervous systems are not fixed instruments. Neither are minds, and neither are the patterns we bring into relationships. All three were built by experience, which is precisely why they can be rebuilt by it too. Every calm moment you let register, really register, not just pass through unnoticed, is a small adjustment to the calibration. Every relationship where the crack you braced for never comes is a small piece of new evidence. Every slow exhale is a small message to a body that's been holding its breath for longer than it should have had to. You are not doomed to scan for danger forever. You're not too much, and you were never broken. You are carrying a body, a mind, and a set of instincts that once had to be brilliant at detecting danger in order to protect you. And that same intelligence, that same loyalty, can be taught a new job. Not to stop noticing the world, just to finally trust that it's allowed to come home.
If this gave you something to think about, you are exactly who this channel is for. Hit like if it resonated, subscribe so you never miss the next one, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. This is Rise Above Theory. We will see you in the next video.